Arab Barghouti, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let me just start by asking you, we know that your father's name was on the list that Hamas gave for being released, even though he's not a member of Hamas. In fact, he opposes them. And the Israeli government refused. What is your feeling when you saw the others coming out? Some of them hardened, convicted criminals.
I mean, it's mixed feelings. I think that I wouldn't be lying if I talk on behalf of my family that the last few days have been some of the heaviest in our lives, and we've been through a lot. We've been through my father's assassination attempts, my father's imprisonment, putting him in solitary confinement at the beginning of his imprisonment for 3 years, and so on. But these were some of the heaviest because, first of all, we expected, to be honest, and we were very positive that he would be with us by now. The second thing is the horrific and horrible stories that we've heard from the released detainees that were with him, around him, in other cells in the same solitary confinement in Mejiddo, and the torture that he's been and being through. It's unbelievable and really, really hard for us to listen to those stories.
So, Arab, I do want to ask you about that because there have been reports, as you say, you have talked about it, some of the released detainees have talked about how he was, they say, beaten and knocked unconscious, in fact, in this process of being transferred from one prison to the next. Do you know who might have done that, why that might have happened, why he was even being transferred?
So they transfer prisoners regularly from prison to prison. This happens every few months, and he's been in Rimon prison for a few months, and then they wanted to transfer him into Mejiddo prison. On the way, the Nahshon unit, which is responsible for transferring the detainees, and these known for being the most vicious and brutal and attacking the detainees on the way, they stopped at Al Jalame prison, and 8 different guards of that unit, they handcuffed him, they put him on the ground, they started beating him up, they started kicking him, and they focused on the head area, on the chest, and on his legs. And we know all these stories from the detainees who, when he got to Mejiddo prison, they said he came unconscious, and he was bleeding and he was bruised, and they took him into the clinic of that prison, and it took him hours to regain consciousness, and days and weeks to recover from that, because there is no proper medical treatment. Why they do it? It's because they know they have the green light to do it. They've already killed more than 77 Palestinian detainees inside prison in the last 2 years. Unfortunately, there is no accountability whatsoever on them, and this is exactly why they keep doing it, because no one is stopping them.
So now that you're watching, and essentially you say he's for a two-state solution, something that certainly Benjamin Netanyahu and the Ben Gvirs of his coalition do not want, despite the Trump 20-point plan. So in a way, do you think he's being kept in precisely because he might be some kind of either transitional or figure who could unify all these disparate factions at this time for a political resolution that includes that two-state solution?
100%. I think if you look at, there has been 800 Palestinians freed detainees with life sentences since my father went to prison. 800. And most of them have way more complicated, according to the Israeli courts, of course, way more complicated security cases. And yet they keep him, and they make sure that his name is dropped, and they make sure that he's vetoed. It's not because he's never been a security threat. My father is a politician, and he's never been, even when you mentioned his court was reviewed by many independent legal teams, and they said that it would be impossible to say that this man has been given a fair trial. He never confessed to any of those allegations, because he's a politician and he has nothing to do with the military work. And I think this is precisely why the Israeli government sees in him a political threat. They don't want coexistence. They don't want two-state solution, and they say it. It's not my words. It's their words. And I think the international community has to make a decision. either they agree and accept the Israeli dominance on the land, the apartheid regime, and the slow and ethnic cleansing and genocide of the Palestinian people, or they impose on the Israelis to accept sitting on the table and working for a political settlement. My father can do the latter. My father can bring and gather all the Palestinian people, and he has the credibility and the track record to do so.